Welcome to the Aging Answers podcast. I'm Rob Faubion at Age of Central Texas. We're your regional nonprofit organization that serves older adults and family caregivers. And we bring you the Aging Answers podcast every month to help you in your aging and caregiving journey. The Aging Answers podcast is brought to you by HEB because no store does more for older adults and family caregivers in Central Texas than my HEB.
You know HEB for quality fresh food at low prices to help you eat well. Now, HEB has primary care physicians and dietitians on staff to help you get and stay well. And because HEB believes affordable care should be accessible to all Texans, monthly memberships and cash payment options are available. Let HEB's team of highly reputable and experienced care providers help you on your health journey. Virtual and in-office visits are available. Visit heb.com/wellness to learn more today.
You know, the holidays are always a time of great joy, but for many of us that have lost our loved ones, they can also be a time of grief. They can be challenging for us, and it's hard for us to figure out how to navigate through this time. So today, we're going to talk about grief and the holidays. Joining us is April Moxley. She is a licensed social worker with more than 20 years experience, and she is the Bereavement Services Manager for VITAS Healthcare. April, thank you so very much for taking the time to join us and to help us talk through what can be a very challenging time for many families.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be here and to speak on something I'm very passionate about. When we think about grief and loss, I think it's not something that a lot of people want to talk about, to be honest, but it's something that we need to talk about. There are some tools that we can put in our tool belt to help at this time during this season, because yes, as you said, it's the holidays and we're supposed to be cheerful, we're supposed to be joyful, and sometimes we just don't feel that way.
That is so true. So I'm going to turn it over to you. I know that you've got some great information and some slides for us, so I'm going to let you take over the presentation.
Okay, let me share my screen. Okay, can you see my screen?
We're all good.
Great, thank you so much. Yeah, so today we will be talking about healing in the holidays. And my name again is April Moxley, and I'm a social worker with VITAS Healthcare. We are a hospice. We have been around for over 20 years and actually over 40 years and on a national land or on the national scale. And so we are now in the area of Austin and Kyle and Buda. So we're excited to be able to share some additional information with you guys and hope to come alongside the community at this, just during the holidays and any time that we need to maybe share some good information about grief and loss. So coping with grief in the holidays, here are some quotes that I've come up with that I think that are really pertinent when we do think about a recent loss, or even just thinking about maybe the loss of someone within the last year. So who's going to carve the turkey this year? Grandpa always did it. I don't have the energy or desire to shop, decorate, or visit with others this Christmas. I just want to erase the holidays this year. I just feel so empty without my husband to celebrate. These are some real dilemmas, right? Real issues. And, we hope that we can, again, give those tools to help with this holiday season, because memories, while they serve a constant reminder of loss, it's also through memories that we can remember, we can honor, we can hold tight to our loved ones who we've lost. But this can all be pretty painful and overwhelming, particularly in the first year. We might need to look at new holiday rituals. We might need to look at new traditions, because maybe this year we just don't feel like we need to do those things, or it's too hard. So kind of the first step in coping with grief is to acknowledge. We have to acknowledge that the holiday season is difficult. And by acknowledging it, it's almost like taking that elephant out of the room, right? We can say it, we can talk about it as a family, we can develop some plans for how we're going to, how we're going to celebrate or how we're going to not celebrate maybe the full holidays. And those are just important things to discuss as a family. And it can really help because that anticipation of the holiday can actually be more difficult than the actual holiday itself. We kind of just really take that fear away from it by planning. So some tips for coping with grief in the holidays. We have to really think about setting those realistic expectations, reminding ourselves again, acknowledging that this year is different. Decide if you can handle past responsibilities and expectation. Examine the task and events of celebrating and ask yourself if you want to continue with those traditions. And even if it's just for skipping it for the year, that's okay. We want to accept others' offers to cook, shop, decorate, consider shopping by phone, internet, or catalog this year. I think that's if you're grieving or not, right? Who wants to go to mess with all of the crowds and things like that? But overall, when people are offering to help you, they really and truly do want to help. I think it's important that we allow for that. I was doing a grief group yesterday, as a matter of fact, and one of the participants was saying that she didn't feel like putting up her Christmas tree at all. And her granddaughter called and said, Grandma, Grandpa loved the Christmas tree. I'll come over and I'll put it up for you. And she said, I kind of hesitated. I really just didn't want to worry about it. But then I knew that it was something that she really wanted to do for me in her grandfather's memory. And so she said, I allowed for it. She came over, she did the whole thing. We had a great visit and she was really happy that she did it. So allow for those family members, for those friends to come over to help you with some of these things. And that's, just surrounding yourself with people who love and support you. It's important to share our plans with our family and friends and kind of let them know what the holiday, maybe the changes might be. Many times memories can be a source of comfort, right? So talk about whether y'all can find some space. Y'all can include your loved one through the holidays by telling stories, looking at photo albums, maybe giving a gift of that person's picture or something that was important to them. And despite the temptation to try to avoid canceling the holiday, it's okay to avoid some of the circumstances that you don't feel ready to handle, but don't isolate yourself. That's something we have to be careful with. Make some time for solitude, for remembering and grieving, but balance that out with some planned social activities. And we'll talk more about how we can do that, some coping skills for that in a little bit. Allow yourself to feel all the feelings. Allow yourself to feel joy. Allow yourself to feel the sadness, the anger, and just overall allow yourself to grieve. It's important that we recognize that every family member are going to have their own different way of grieving. Grief is unique to us, right? Because those relationships that we are in are unique to us. But no way is necessarily right or wrong. So experiencing joy and laughter during a time of grief does not mean that you've forgotten your loved one. And, so that kind of goes to the thought process of, well, how can I enjoy this time of year when my loved one's not here? That's not right. We have to really think about the fact that as people, right, we can experience joy, moments of joy, and also continue grieving. So the joy and the grief can coexist. They can overlap with each other, and that's okay. Here's some more tips. Draw comfort from doing for others. It's a great way to heal some of your grief is to make a donation, give a gift in memory of your loved one. Invite a guest who might otherwise be alone for the holidays, invite them over, or adopt a needy family during the holiday season. Do something in their name, right? volunteer at a dog or a pet shelter, right? If that's something that your loved one enjoyed, donate some books to an organization or to an elementary school in your loved one's name. There's just so many different ways, and those are things that you can kind of just Google, right? About different ways to honor your loved one. There's just a really great different list, and you kind of just have to find what feels right for you. We really want to take care of ourselves, avoid using alcohol to self-medicate your mood, try to avoid the hustle and bustle of the season. Physical exercise is often an antidote for depression, right? Physical exercise, getting out, moving can really help with the, diluting that stress hormone that you may be experiencing and enhancing those hormones that help and provide and give happiness. Write in a journal. That can be a really good outlet for your grief. Save some space in your day, maybe in the morning, lunchtime, in the evening, just a time for you to sit down and really connect to those feelings and allow for those. Give yourself permission to buy something frivolous and indulgent just because, right? Obviously, everything's in moderation, but we want to think about, the being kind to ourselves and just really taking care of ourselves. Believe it or not, when we are grieving, about 60% of our energy is being focused on our grief, that emotional energy, right? 60%. So grievers are tired. It's really tiring. It's really hard work to grieve. And so you really want to be kind to yourself and really take some time to take care of you. Create a new tradition or ritual that accommodates your current situation. Some people find comfort by honoring traditions, while others find them just painful. Discuss with your family the activities that you want to include or exclude this year. Some examples of new rituals and traditions might include, talking about who's going to carve that turkey or the ham, or who's going to make that pumpkin pie that grandma always made. We want to talk about those things before the holidays hit us, and we're approaching it, right? Fast and furious here, December 5th already. But we can still have those conversations. We can, maybe start a new ritual or a tradition of creating a memory box, filling it with photos of your loved ones, notes from family members and friends. You can ask the younger kids to also be involved by drawing in a memory box. When my father-in-law passed away, not this past May, but the May before, for that Thanksgiving, I decided that I wanted to hold some space for him at dinner. And so when everyone walked in, as they walked in, we handed out cardstock, a little strip of cardstock, and asked everyone to write a memory or a thought about Pops on there, and collected all of those in a jar. And before Thanksgiving, we went ahead and read those out loud, the different memories. And we all had a good laugh and we all had a good cry. And we held space for him. He was there with us for that holiday. My mother-in-law was very appreciative of that, and she took that jar home. Told her, hey, when you're having a hard day, maybe pull one of the cards from inside and read through it, and just remind yourself of what a difference and how much he meant to all of us. We can make a decorative quilt. I do not have that skill. If you have that skill, that's amazing. But out of using the favorite colors, symbols, images, or pieces of clothing and fabric that remind you of that person, there are also lots of good websites that do that. Etsy does some of that. And then I think there's a project quilt or project something. I can't remember the second word for it, but you can Google that and certainly it'll come up. Or it can be as simple as just lighting a candle for your loved one. And that is enough. Lighting a candle, say, we are going to light this candle while we are having this celebration in memory and in honor of our person. And it's going to shine bright for all of us while we're all here together. And they would love that. Could also just as simple as putting a bouquet of flowers on your holiday table in memory of your loved one, maybe their favorite flower, right? Visit the cemetery and decorate the memorial site. I had a person in my group yesterday that talked about the cemetery where her mother was buried, and that the last time she had been there was the year before when they buried her mother. And This was the first time she was able to kind of get back there. It was in a different country, and she went and visited it and had a really, really good cry. Had a really good cry, a cry like she hadn't had. She said, I remember the day of the funeral, I was pretty numb. There was so much happening. I didn't really have that chance to cry, to grieve at that time. And since then, she's been busy. There have been times that she's, obviously she's thought about her mother every day, but being able to go back to that cemetery and visit, she was really able just to have a release of emotions, and said that it made her feel so close to her mom, just to know that she was right there and she was able to say some things that she needed to say. So utilize this time to go visit them at the cemetery. Have a moment of silence during the holiday toast to honor your loved one. Place a commemorative ornament on the Christmas tree. We did that as well with my father-in-law. I gifted my mother-in-law a beautiful cardinal, and on it I wrote, or I painted on it, his name, and I put it kind of in the center of her Christmas tree, kind of looking on at her. And we actually bought one for our tree as well. So Pops is at our tree and also a part of her tree, and it really just felt like we held some space for him. Write a poem about your loved one if that's something that you enjoy doing. Some people are very talented in that way, right? And you can read that along, in your holiday ritual. Play your loved one's favorite music. If they had a genre that they loved, or you knew that some of the really great songs that they loved, put a playlist together. Let's have that going during Christmas, during our get together. Or if there's a favorite song, let it play. Let's all sing. A favorite game. If they enjoyed a game that you would play every holiday, let's play that. Maybe it's spades or, dominoes or something like that. Do that in their honor. Plan a meal with your loved one's favorite foods. But the most important thing to remember is that there's no right or wrong way. It's more about the planning and talking about it, and how do we make that special? How do we make that this time of a place that we can honor them as well? And the best coping mechanism for the holiday season, again, is just to plan ahead and get good support from others and take it easy. It's just really important that we pull our family or our friends in as well. It's, again, that elephant in the room. We don't want that. We want to talk about it. And here's about 5 ways that we can plan for the holidays. Some of them are a little bit repetitive, but not too much. I think it's just important that we have some ways in which we can actually do the planning, right? Ask each family member to give thoughts and preferences about participating in holiday preparations and traditions. Did Granddad always say a special prayer? Maybe we want to hand that job over to another person in the family and see how they feel about doing that. Maybe you and your dad always put the Christmas tree together. How are we going to go about that? Who's going to help us with that? By talking about what you'll miss the most about your loved one's absence, you and your family are taking those first steps in coping with your grief. So that's important. It's important. Again, we need to talk. We need to talk about it. This gives a great reason to maybe discuss some of those things. And then we want to review all the holiday associated activities and consider what to keep and what to change this year. Again, it doesn't mean we have to change it forever. If we just want to change it this year because it's just too much, it's okay. We don't really have to have a lot of big expectations. Feelings of our grief kind of ebbs and flows. You may feel upbeat and energetic one moment and then just really sad and tired the next. Again, we got to be kind to ourselves, and we want to help others understand how you're feeling and what you need. That's a big piece of grief, especially during the holidays. We don't do grief amazing here. I think we're getting better. There's some really passionate people out there who want to talk about grief and loss, which is great. And I don't think that you know what you know until you're in it, until you are experiencing that grief. So it's important that some people are not going to say the things that you wish that they would say to you. You're going to hear things from people that can be hurtful, and it's not something that they are intending on saying to be hurtful to you. It's just we don't really know what to say, right? And in those moments, I think it's important that that we're able to kind of share with them a little bit about what our needs are, right? I don't know if I'll be able to go to this party, this holiday function. Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate the invite. Keep inviting me, right? I may not go to this, but I'll maybe go to something else. It's just important that we're able to say how we know what we need. And there are times that we don't know what we need, and that's okay too. But as grievers, it's important that we share that with people. I really don't know what I need at this time. I really don't. But thank you for checking on me. Decide how to include the memory of your loved one in the holiday events. That chair might be empty, but your loved one will be present in your mind and your heart throughout the holiday season. You can include them in different family gatherings by lighting that candle when you gather, or placing notes in a box to read and share later. You might want to all together look through photo albums, tell stories. That's a great way to hold space and to remember and to honor, is to tell those stories, right? It can be the funny stories. It can be the serious stories. It can be the stories about, the person that, made you want to pull your hair out. All of it is important. All of it encompasses who they are, who they are still in your mind and in your heart. And it really can help everybody in the room feel connected to each other and to that loved one that has passed. Respond to holiday invitations. You can, certainly plan to be with people you enjoy, even if it's just for a few moments. You might want to ask a friend to go with you and stay as long as you want. Ask your host if it's okay to accept or decline at the last minute, since you're not sure how you'll be feeling, and allow yourself the opportunity to decline an invitation if you just can't do it. Realize that the fear of the holidays may be worse than the actual reality of it. Sometimes just the thought of being around happy party goers can make your grief more noticeable. It's hard to watch as life goes on around you, even though you're really just in a lot of pain and sting. There's a lot of just wounds, right, from that loss. But the fear of the season might be worse than the reality, and you surround yourself with family and friends and others who understand what you're going through. So during the holiday season, allow yourself to enjoy golden moments, right? When you can see the joy of the season kind of peeking through the shadows of your sadness, of your sorrow, because ultimately, I think our loved ones would really want that for us. So kind of look and try to see that joy and the hope. Oops. And there's just a lot of, again, different ideas. You have to choose that personally, and this gives you an opportunity to kind of look and see what you might want to do. Some of these are, again, some of the same, like putting that memory candle out, right? Let's see, duplicating a frame with the person's photo and giving that as your Christmas gift this year. Make a list of all the ways your loved one enriched your life and continues to influence you. Visit favorite places and savor the memories that you and your loved one shared. Do something that your loved one enjoyed. Attend a play, a concert, a theme park, or a baseball game in their name. Plant a tree, dedicate a memorial brick or a park bench in your loved one's name, or create something. Again, planting a garden. I think planting a garden or setting up a bird feeder or some plants, especially if your loved one enjoyed that, can be a really comforting place for you to go and just kind of have that connection to your loved one. You can arrange for a remembrance of for your loved one at a mass or a religious service. You can donate flowers and plants to your church in their name. Donate objects or materials that can be used in worship or education in your loved one's name. Set up a scholarship if that's something you'd like to do. Make a donation to your loved one's favorite charity. Volunteer your time to a person in need or an organization in order to honor that person. It really does feel good to give back during the holidays, and especially if we can do that and bring our loved one along with us, right? And that we are doing it to honor them. But you have to choose what feels right for you. They still continue to make a difference in our lives if we allow that. I wanted to include a little bit about handling holidays and special anniversaries for grieving kiddos. This can be a bit difficult when we have kids involved. We have to realize that they obviously have a lot of the same feelings that we do. They may not be able to show it in the same way, and they may not show it in the same way, but they're having them for sure. We want to involve them in that holiday planning, see what maybe feels good for them, what might make a difference for them to be able to honor the loved one. We can talk about maybe some of that. We could talk about it with the child, how they may experience some painful feelings during the holiday or the anniversary. Again, talking about it is the biggest way that we can take fear away. Slightly alter old holiday rituals or create new ones. Some holidays are harder than others. When we're talking about like Mother's Day and Father's Day, things like that, when you've lost a parent for a child, that can be really hard. So planning ahead and seeing if maybe there's a substitute mother that can go to a Mother's Day banquet, or a substitute father that can go to that father-daughter dance. Some children often choose to celebrate their birthday or parent by baking a cake, lighting candles, and making a birthday gift. If children feel a need to commemorate their loved one, offer to take them on a visit to the cemetery or a special place that brings good memories. And, again, giving gifts, sharing memories, developing special rituals for that time is something that can certainly allow a child to also heal, especially if they can really participate in it and have some ideas come to life. So this is something that I really feel very passionate about. As grievers, we have like a bill of rights kind of sort of thing, right? And we talk about that in a group that I facilitate. But also during the holiday, you as a griever have rights as well. You have the right to not attend get-togethers that you don't want to attend. You have the right to change how you celebrate the holiday. You have the right to not decorate at all, or decorate every inch that you can. You have the right to say time out anytime that you need to. You have the right to talk about your loved one during conversations, even if it makes others feel uncomfortable. You have the right to forget about everything you should be doing and just be. You have the right to tell people how you are really doing when they ask, right? I think a lot of times when people ask how we are, we say yes, we put a smile on our face and we're doing good. Oh, well, I'm having a good day, we're doing good. That's not always the case. And with some people who are close to us and who we know that we can talk to, and maybe they'll listen, we can certainly tell people how we really are doing. You have the right to be sad or mad or lonely or silly or however you feel at any given moment. Again, those feelings might really ebb and flow. You have the right to have some bah humbug days. You have the right to have fun without feeling guilty. That's okay. You have the right to spend time with people who help you feel better, even if they're not family. You have the right to change your mind 3 times in 5 minutes, however often that happens. Normal grief reactions are, in fact, that we have a hard time making decisions. We have a hard time making decisions. We have a hard time focusing on things and concentrating. You have the right to cry and laugh and cry all at the same time, daily. You have the right to leave early if it gets too hard. You have the right to cancel at the last minute if you just can't bear to go. You have the right to do something for someone else because it feels good. And you have the right to do it all differently next year. Just know that nothing is really set in stone just because you've changed it, if you have. And really, this is a great focus that I talk to a lot of people in support groups about, to remember that 20-minute rule during the holidays, during any type of event as you're grieving. We can do most anything for about 20 minutes. right? So give yourself 20 minutes at a social event, wrap it up and leave. Don't wait till you're 100% ready to go because grieving takes energy and grieving during the holidays demands a lot of energy. So being with people, even those you love, requires energy that is in very short supply. If you overdo it and stay too long, you'll be tired for days afterwards. So be compassionate to yourself and leave early rather than late. Again, you're invited somewhere and you're not sure you want to go. Say yes. Go, do that 20-minute rule, right? I'm going to go for 20 minutes and I'm going to have fun if I need to have fun. And if it's really hard, I'm going to go to the bathroom. I'm going to cry if I need to, and I'll excuse myself. And let the person that's invited you know, I am coming, but I probably won't stay very long. That way you've filled the obligation of going, and then you've also taken care of yourself by retreating back and going home and allowing yourself that time to grieve. I included some resources on grief and the holidays, some books that are really good. At VITAS.com, we have a lot of different Zoom support groups that are offered. We have a lot of good information about grief and loss, pages of different articles and things like that that you can utilize. And then what's your grief? It's a website and actually on Instagram as well. They have an enormous amount of resources, and I feel like it's really, really healthy, good coping, information that they provide. I wanted to let you guys know that we do have a program coming up actually this week on Thursday and Friday of this week. It's called Preserving the Light of Our Memories. When someone you love becomes a memory, the memory becomes a treasure. And so it's a virtual event. It's facilitated by people like myself, bereavement professionals. You can join others who are coping through loss during the holiday season. It's free. It's on Zoom. It's going to feature some music, storytelling, mutual support, and the opportunity to share treasured memories. And again, it's going to be on Thursday and Friday. This does say to register by December the 4th. But you can, as you can see, my email address is on here, april.moxley@vitas.com. If you email me, I will get you the information, the Zoom account and the link for that Zoom on Thursday or Friday. We're happy to do that. It's a great event. We've been doing that since COVID hit. We do one for the holidays, we do one for Valentine's, we do one for Mother's Day, and we do one for Father's Day. We know how important those days are and how hard they are. So even though even just because we maybe not be in person, but having that Zoom connection can really be helpful to hold space for, your grief and your loved one as well. But that's the presentation that I have. I wanted to just give you guys some ideas about how we can cope through the holidays. Again, I hope you understand that everybody's going to do it different and there's no right or wrong to it. These are just ideas. But really it's about planning and just really talking about it, talking through some of the feelings that we might be having, the anticipation of it. And that really can take a lot of the fear away. So thank you so much.
And thank you so much, April. Yeah, I like that you started us off by saying that we need to acknowledge that it's hard. And that is so
Mhm.
true that the holidays are hard already. And then you add grieving on top of that, and it really is a lot to have to deal with. And so by just acknowledging, I'm having a very hard time with this is great. Put it out on the
Mhm.
table and deal with it. I
Yeah.
also like that you acknowledge that everybody grieves differently because they do, and everybody's journey is
Mhm.
different. My father-in-law passed away last year, but his wife had passed 10 years prior to that, and it was very difficult for him. And
Mhm.
the way he coped with it is every day at 4 o'clock, he went out to the cemetery. And he went out there
Mhm.
and just sat on the bench that he had installed next to their gravesite and just sat there to be with her. And his children
Mhm.
could not understand why he would do that. 10 years later, he was
Yeah.
still doing that. Why are you doing that? And so he asked me, is it wrong that I do this? I said, absolutely not. Everybody grieves in their own
Mhm.
way. If this helps you, do it. Don't listen to them. Do what you
Right.
need to do. And so that's important. You deal with this the way you need to deal with this, and not the way people tell you should, and how your sister says you should handle it, and how your brothers. No, it is not their grief, it's yours. And
That's
you deal
right.
with it the way that you need to. And
Yeah.
as caregivers, a lot of times for those of us that are caring for a loved one who has a cognitive issue such as Alzheimer's or other type
Mhm.
of dementia, we kind of grieve twice. We grieve from the loss of the person while we have them, and then we
Mhm.
grieve when they're gone.
Mhm.
And one thing that we always tell caregivers, and I have to keep telling myself as a caregiver, we have to give ourselves grace.
Mhm.
And
Be kind to yourself. Mhm.
exactly. And as you said in the presentation of things to do to take care of yourself, that is so important. You have to
Mhm.
keep taking care of you because you are the one
Mhm.
that is most important. And you have to give yourself the grace to say, it's okay that I'm upset. It's okay that I'm sad. It's okay that this hurts. It's
Mhm.
okay I can't do this. That's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and like you said, for those that do have caregivers with Alzheimer's or dementia, it's or anyone with a terminal illness, right? As working in hospice, I've been with VITAS for over 18 years. And so in working with families who are grieving, even though their loved one is still with them, right? There's a word for that. It's called anticipatory grief, right? Sometimes just knowing that there's an action, it's a thing, there is a thing that you actually are feeling. You can look it up. It's anticipatory grief. It's the anticipation of that person dying. And a lot of those feelings, a lot of the emotions that carries are exactly the same as grief. So it goes the same way. It's unique to you, right? And there's no right or wrong way. It just is. And so, it's a good point. Just I've seen people being with families, and they're like, I don't understand why one minute I'm fine, the next minute I'm not, and I'm irritated by this, and I can't concentrate all this. And I tell them, yeah, you're experiencing anticipatory grief. There's a word for it, and you can see it like kind of just wash over their face, like, oh, okay. I'm this is a thing. This is normal feelings. And that's one of the biggest things that we can do for folks is to normalize grief. Grief is normal. The reactions that we have, they don't feel normal, but they're normal
Yeah,
for grief.
as a society, we don't talk about death, even though it is a normal part of life. Everybody is going to pass away at some point in their lives. And so it is normal. It's a part of our life cycle. Yet it's something that we think of as being scary, and often we don't talk about it as much as we should, even though it's going to happen. And it has happened since the dawn of time. And it's going to happen to everybody in every family. And so when we do
Right.
have this grief and we have these feelings, we don't realize that they are normal because we
Mhm.
have not experienced them before, and we have not been around a lot of people who are experiencing them. And so just realizing that what you're going through is okay. It's normal.
Mhm.
It's normal for you. You're going to deal with it your own way, and that is absolutely fine. And give yourself the grace to say,
Mhm.
I'm not having a good time with this, and that's
Right.
okay.
Right.
And thank you so
Absolutely.
much for all of these great tools, so that when we are having
Yeah.
those feelings, we can go, okay, I'm not liking this, but I've got something that at least I can grab onto that can help me get over that hump and move forward. So,
That's
April, thank
right.
you so very much for sharing all of your experience and knowledge to help with what for many people is a very difficult time of the year, and help
Mhm.
make it a little easier. And as you said, next year will be different, and that's okay.
Yes.
And that's
Yeah,
good.
that's right. Yeah, you're
Thank
welcome. Thank you for having me.
And thank you for VITAS being such a great resource as well for us here in the community. And thank you for watching our Aging Answers podcast. We appreciate you joining us. You can look at our library of all of our Aging Answers podcast here on our YouTube channel. And we will be back next month in the new year with brand new sessions as well. We hope that you have a wonderful holiday and reach out to any of us if we can ever be of service to you. Thank you so much and have a great day.